GED. Ready Test 1 for Science with Answers and Diagnostic Scoring System. Reminder: these questions are from the GED Ready test, actually taken by the students. So, the length of the test is only half of the real GED test and might be more difficult and challenging for the students who haven't finished studying the complete course yet. This test is particularly for those whose exam dates are close and who would like to know if they are likely to pass GED test. Before starting the test, read the following instructions carefully. You need a calculator for this test. You should go and get the calculator first. It is recommended that you don't skip the questions and check the answers ahead. You can answer at your own pace. It is suggested that you should take the test with a timer. During the test, you can pause the video and continue as you wish. At the end of the test, you can see the sample answers and diagnostic chart for your score. Are you ready for the test? Let's get started. Question 1. 1. Unstable traffic flow occurs when drivers accelerate and brake too often. Unstable traffic flow wastes energy. The table below gives one example of traffic speeds, in kilometers per hour km/h, in an unstable flow situation. What is the mean speed in kilometer per hour in this situation? You may use the calculator. A. 20, B. 30, C. 40, D. 50. Question 2. Scientists today are studying tidal power as an alternative energy source for generating electricity. Some scientists conclude that tidal power is a good alternative source of energy because it uses a natural process, does not rely on fossil fuels, and does not release greenhouse gases. These scientists recommend building tidal power plants around the United States in locations with high tidal power potential. Other scientists conclude that tidal power is not a good alternative energy source because tidal power plants can negatively impact the surrounding ecosystem by killing marine animals, restricting fish migration, reducing the natural flow of water, and causing silt buildup in waterways. These scientists recommend not building tidal power plants in U.S. waterways. Both conclusions are based on valid data and scientific reasoning. How can both conclusions be valid? A. The two groups of scientists believe different theories about the process of generating electricity. B. The two groups of scientists are looking at different specific aspects of the same scientific problem. C. The two groups of scientists collect and analyze data about all types of possible alternative energy sources. D. The two groups of scientists are on opposite sides of the debate on whether the United States needs to find clean alternative energy sources. Question 3. Peat is a mixture of partially decomposed plant and animal material found in waterlogged, acidic, anaerobic environments. People debate whether peat is a fossil fuel. To be considered a fossil fuel, a material must be of biologic origin, be used as a source of energy, and replenish on a time scale greater than human lifetimes. Peat reserves have declined over time. However, peat harvesters claim that a restoration process can make peat a renewable resource and allow it to be classified as a biofuel. The restoration process is outlined in the table. Which conclusion can be drawn based on the information in the table? A. Peat is a fossil fuel because rewetting it takes only 3–5 years. B. Peat is a fossil fuel because the total time for restoration is lengthy. C. Peat is not a fossil fuel because it has biologic origins, making it a biofuel. D. Peat is not a fossil fuel because humans can promote the replenishment of peat. Question 4. A young researcher wants to test how well extremophiles, organisms that thrive in extreme conditions, live in different environments. She will do this by putting extremophiles of different species into different solvents. Because of limited lab space, she can run only one sample at a time, and each sample must remain undisturbed for 7 days. To reduce the total time needed to process all samples, the researcher decides to use 2 acidic solutions along with the control. The information below includes the extremophiles and the solvents the researcher will use in her tests. Based on the tables, how many days will all of the researcher's experiments take? You may use the calculator. A. 7, B. 21, C. 49, D. 84. Question 5. A group of scientists studied the environmental impact of internal combustion engines burning hydrocarbon fuels. The scientists equipped 4 vehicles with devices to capture and measure particulate emissions. 1 vehicle burned diesel fuel, 1 burned ordinary gasoline, 1 burned a gasoline or ethanol mixture, and 1 burned natural gas. The 4 vehicles had equal masses and carried identical cargo. The scientists drove each vehicle for 100 kilometers, recording the volume of fuel burned and the quantity of particulate emissions generated. What is the independent variable in this experiment? A. Type of fuel. B. Distance traveled. C. Mass of vehicle and cargo. D. Quantity of particulate emissions. Question 6. Oil is a fossil fuel. The table below shows the oil reserves in 5 countries. What is the median of the data? You may use the calculator. A. 115, B. 143.3, C. 165, D. 180.5. Question 7. Cladogram is a diagram that organizes species into groups based on their similarities. It also shows evolutionary relationships among the groups. Which statement can be inferred from the cladogram above? A. All the species evolved from sharks. B. The original ancestor had vertebrae. C. Sharks evolved into ray-finned fish, which evolved into amphibians. D. Sharks and ray-finned fish are more closely related than crocodiles and birds. Question 8. On the Moon, impact craters accumulate over time, so older regions of the Moon's surface have more craters than newer regions. Radiometric techniques have dated the sites of lunar exploration missions, including some missions that sampled bright regions of the Moon's surface and others that sampled dark regions. When possible, a mission sample features known to be of very different ages. Matching radiometric dates to crater density creates a scale for estimating the age of any visible region on the Moon. The graph below compares sample ages to crater densities from each landing site. Based on the sample set of data, which statement correctly identifies a weakness of the sampling technique? A. Sample sites were not selected based on a range of crater densities. B. Some missions took samples that were known to be of very different ages. C. Samples were taken from both dark and bright lunar areas, instead of concentrating on one area. D. The missions did not sample craters on Earth, where rocks are more easily accessible for radiometric dating. Question 9. In many regions of the world, humans rely on underground water supplies called aquifers for fresh water. The amount of water an aquifer can store depends in part on the porosity of the rock or sediment in which the water is stored. Porosity is a measure of the amount of liquid that can be stored in a material and is related to the amount of empty space that exists between individual rock or sediment particles. A group of civil engineers wants to determine whether the porosity of surface soil affects aquifer recharge rates, the ability of aquifers to refill with water. The engineers conduct the following study to determine the porosity of the surface soil at various locations. The results of the study will then be compared with the recharge rates of the aquifer each location supplies with water. One. Collect one 200 milliliter sample of soil from each of 3 locations. 2. Place each soil sample in a beaker. 3. Add 200 milliliters of water to each sample and allow the water to saturate the soil. 4. Measure the amount of standing water in each beaker amount of water the soil did not absorb. 5. Determine the amount of water in the soil sample by subtracting the amount of standing water from 200 milliliters. 6. Divide the amount of water in the soil sample by 200 milliliters and multiply by 100 to determine the percent porosity of the soil. Which change to the experimental design would improve the reliability of the engineer's measurements? A. Using a liquid other than water to determine porosity. B. Using flasks instead of beakers. C. Testing single samples from more than 3 locations. D. Testing more samples from each location. Question 10. A company produces and tests a new mineral supplement designed to prevent the common cold. The company tests 3 dosages of the mineral supplement on 300 participants, male and female, between the ages of 25 and 50 over a 6-month period. Each group has 100 randomly assigned participants. The table shows the dosages of the mineral supplement given to each participant in each group, and the numbers of participants that report having the common cold during the 6-month period. The company claims that the mineral supplement can effectively prevent the common cold. A scientist disputes the claim, saying an error exists in the setup of the groups for the investigation, which change to the investigation would remove the source of this error. A. Test a 4th group, in which participants do not receive the mineral supplement. B. Test all 3 groups, with each participant receiving the mineral supplement for 12 months. C. Test only 1 group, with each participant receiving 200 mg or day of the mineral supplement. D. Test only 2 groups, one with each participant receiving 200 mg or day, and one with 50 mg or day of the mineral supplement. Question 11. Scientists often experiment with brassica plants because brassica plants grow very fast, and they produce seeds 30 days after being planted. This quick maturation allows scientists to study several generations of brassica plants in a short time. Usually, the scientists use brassica plants to study genetics and inheritance. In one investigation that studied the inheritance of brassica stem color, scientists crossed a heterozygous dominant RR plant with the homozygous recessive RR plant. This resulted in offspring with purple stems RR or R, and offspring with green stems R. A Punnett square for this cross is shown below. You may use the calculator. Type your answers in the boxes. What % of the offspring will have green stems? What % of the offspring will have purple stems? Read the following paragraphs carefully to answer questions 12 to 14. A cell must continuously sort useful materials from its waste products and then remove or recycle the waste. One way a cell does this is to first put tiny tags on proteins that are no longer needed. These tags, which are small polypeptide chains 76 amino acids long, are called ubiquitin. Ubiquitin tags direct proteins to compartments of the cell called proteasomes. Within each proteasome, ubiquitin-tagged proteins are deconstructed into their component amino acids. These pieces can be repurposed to build new proteins. Sometimes organs stop processing waste effectively, allowing the waste to pile up and contributing to many diseases. Alzheimer's disease, for example, includes piles of waste proteins in the brain called tangles, while Parkinson's disease involves the accumulation of recyclable material into Lewy body. Mallory bodies are piles of waste proteins common in liver disease. These piles, known generically as inclusions, can be identified under the microscope because they are covered in tiny ubiquitin tags. A problem in the breakdown of ubiquitin-tagged proteins may be one cause of spinocerebellar ataxia type 1. In this disease, a protein called ataxin-1 has an abnormal genetic mutation, and ubiquitin is able to attach to the mutant protein. Scientists believe that the mutated protein cannot be chopped up by the proteasome because of its shape. So ubiquitin-tagged ataxin-1 starts to accumulate, which leads to cell death. The cells most affected by this genetic mutation are neurons in a part of the brain associated with motor control, and the spinal cord. So, a person with mutant ataxin-1 progressively loses muscle control as these cells die. Question 12. Which phrase describes the purpose of ubiquitin? A. To tag waste proteins for recycling in the proteasomes. B. To create small polypeptide chains that are 76 amino acids long. C. To create inclusions that can be identified under the microscope. D. To attach to mutant proteins so that they can accumulate in the cell. Question 13. If proteins contain mutations, the proteins often do not maintain the proper shape and are unable to perform their functions. Properly functioning proteins are essential to maintaining healthy organisms. Which statement describes the overall consequence of proteins containing mutations like those described in the passage? A. Wastes will build up and will be reassembled to build new proteins. B. Wastes will build up and Mallory bodies will accumulate in the liver. C. To create inclusions that can be identified under the microscope. D. To attach to mutant proteins so that they can accumulate in the cell. Question 14. Why do individuals with spinocerebellar ataxia experience loss of muscle control, even though the ataxin-1 protein builds up only in the brain and spinal cord? A. Inclusions can build up in all body systems and can cause debilitating effects. B. Genetic mutations in the ataxin-1 protein cause muscular proteins to change shape. C. When the ubiquitin tagging system does not work effectively, cellular waste can build up in the muscles. D. The neurons affected by the ataxin-1 protein buildup are in a region of the brain that manages muscle control. Question 15. Moving objects, such as automobiles, have kinetic energy key, which is measured in joules. This energy can be calculated using the following formula. A person drives an automobile with a mass of 450 kilograms at a velocity of 26 meters per second. The driver accelerates to a velocity of 30 meters per second. The difference in the automobile's kinetic energy between the two velocities is blank joules. You may use the calculator. Question 16. In 1800, 10 horses were released on an island. Over time, the size of the horse population grew and fluctuated. At what point on the graph is the population of horses at carrying capacity? A. Point A. B. Point B. C. Point C. D. Point D. Now, this is the end of the test. Are you ready to check the answers? Let's see whether you are ready for the real GED test or not. This is the diagnostic scoring chart for you. If you can answer 12 to 16 questions correctly, congratulations. You are likely to pass the real GED test, so you should schedule right away. If you can answer only 9 to 11 questions correctly, well, you are too close to the pass score. You are almost ready, just a little more practice. Keep on practicing. If you can answer less than 9 questions correctly, I am sorry to say that you are not likely to pass the real test. You will want to spend more time preparing. Save time by focusing only on what you need to learn. You can watch the GED related contents on our Trusted Tutor YouTube channel. So, how is your feelings after the ready test? You don't feel like you are ready for the real GED test? If so, you can take another ready test. Our channel will upload GED ready test to very soon. Stay tuned and get notification from our channel. Thank you so much. Please like this video and subscribe to our channel. You can find your trusted tutor on YouTube.